I like it. We are live. Thank you guys for tuning in. We are on what is the 19th day. For those of you that are sticking in and following these teachings every single day, you know what it is. It's the Daily Drunkers. 366, they throw in a leap year, days of non-stop business management solutions. This is what we do here. I like to mention him every time because it's an amazing book on solving these business strategies. You know, everything, solving business, coming up with business strategies, solving your business scenarios, how to work with your employees of today, and become more intuitive with your business is really the goal. Go down to the link below if you don't have the book. Click the link. I went and got a direct Amazon link to the book so you guys can go out there and get it. It's one that you add. You know, certain books that have to do with business and self-help and things like that, you don't buy that book and read it one time and shelve it and never come back. That book becomes your counsel. You go to that book. You go to that book daily. You go to it when you need to consult, and you find the topics. You've read the whole book. You've highlighted it. You've dog-eared the corners. You've added tabs on there. You've underlined. You've done everything possible to make sure that that book has all of the key points that you need, that you can refer back to help open your mind in a different way. Because the way the mind thinks, the moment you hear something or see something that immediately sparks a thought in your mind, you stop listening for a second because you're lost, and then you come back. But in that period of time that you stopped, you missed everything else in that window. So it's real important that you understand that going back to that book constantly, you will absorb different things at different point in times, because that's when you are ready. You're not going to be 100% ready just because the book is physically in your hand and you actually start taking the act of reading it. So that's not how it works, right? That's why they tell you when you study, you read again, write it down, highlight, write it on paper, throw up flashcards. That's why. It's because of the way the brain takes in information. All right, so information. It's because of the way the brain takes information, and that's kind of how we're segueing into this thought that I'm about to say. Taking information responsibility is the topic of today's management situation. All right. So information specialists are tool makers. Okay. And they can tell us what tool to use, basically, like, for instance, a person who works on cars or whatever, who hammers, nails into a chair, an upholstery person, right? We need to decide whether we should be upholstering a chair at all, right? So it's kind of a weird analogy, but let's dig into it. Right before we get started, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. You need to be following these. If you haven't followed these, you need to go backwards, and you need to start at day one and get caught up, because we're not moving backwards, moving forwards, because we can't fix what happened yesterday, right? So a requirement of an information-based organization is that everyone take information responsibility, okay? The bassoonist in an orchestra takes information responsibility every time he plays a note. Watch where I'm going with this, okay? Doctors and paramedics work with an elaborate system of reports and an information center, the nurse's station, on the patient's floor. The district officer in India acted on this responsibility every time he filed a report. The key to such systems is that everyone asks, and these are key questions. So if you're paying attention, write this down. Who in this organization depends on me for what information? And on whom, in turn, do I depend on? Okay. Each person's list will always include superiors and subordinates, right? You're always going to have someone up and below you in everything. Even as an entrepreneur, as a self-made person, you always have people above you and below you, and it's just the way it is because we're people. Okay. But the most important names will be those colleagues and people whose primary relationship is in coordination with the work that you're doing, right? The relationship of an internist, the surgeon, and the anesthesiologist is one example. Another example is a biochemist, a pharmacologist, the medical director in charge of a clinical testing, and the marketing specialist in a pharmaceutical company. No different. They're all in the same genre of work, okay? And they each have a responsibility, all right? It too requires each party take the fullest information responsibility. So the action points are real simple here. Take information responsibility by getting the right information to the right people at the right time. Key, right? Make a list of whom you depend on for what information, and in turn, who depends on you. There it is. Do it.